Hello and welcome. This one, we got a lot to talk about here, but let's get started as we normally do. This is a really terrifying and kind of like deeply unsettling episode in the best way. But yeah, this is episode 24, Raising Issues. So, our classification numbers here are CAT 1RB C1375-290-22024 23042024. Baby, demonic, delusion, exhaustion. So, yeah, alright, let's get into this, cause, yeah. Whew. So, I have so much I want to say. Let's start with Gwen tries to get her job back. There's a nice little, like, hitch in the system, there's a little glitch when Gwen tells Lena thank you, which obviously means that she's not actually thankful at all. But when she mentions that it's safer on the inside than the out, I wonder how true that is. I feel like that is something that the old Gwen would have said for sure. But is she working, like, to try and figure out what's going on here and she's playing Lena? I guess we'll see. Either way, it's probably true. Because I feel like they've got some backing. They also mentioned there's a new minister coming. And this new minister is going to have, like, a hands-on approach. I'm assuming this is minister in the form of like a minister of defense or a minister of security, and not a minister, because it's capitalized, not a minister as in like a priest. But, you know, there was a priest at Magnus Archives, and that was a terrifying tale of what that must have done to that man. So, you know, who knows? No, I assume this is going to be like a minister in the OIR, somebody higher up in the government that is coming to take a look. Probably not like prime minister, right? But could be. Anyway, the case. The case made me do a lot of digging. I wanted to try and tie this into alchemy somehow, and what I found was horrifying, to say the least. But we'll get to that. So the case is Patricia Spaulding and the nanny cam, the nap safe nanny cam that is recording her and her new baby, Rupert. And the health visitor, which surprised me because that's not a thing we have in the States. I had to look that up and understand. That's a cool concept. Man, the health visitor, I think, is in on this. I think specifically when they say later that the health visitor is there every day now, they're so helpful. And like them not seeing what's going on, they're either in on it or it's got the same kind of effect that Mr. Bonzo had, where it doesn't register for whatever reason for people. But either way, the health visitor records or mentions that that's a bad idea to record. You should not do that. But she's gonna do it anyway. So yeah, Rupert has big black orbs for eyes and a long curly tongue and sharp teeth. And Rupert is a demon of some sort. Actually, hold on. I'm gonna make a hard cut here, because I just had a thought on one other thing I need to research real quick. Okay, so that didn't give me the answer I was hoping for, but it's fine, and I've thrown off my train of thought. I got lost down another rabbit hole. Look, there's a lot, okay? So, Rupert is definitely a demon. He's got all the telltale signs, as we said, and he seems to be feasting on her. There's a couple lines here where Patricia mentions that he needs to eat, and then also says that he needs to feed. She mentions blood and bandages. She mentions shadows on the wall that don't match her Rupert. And then when she turns the light on, Rupert's just awake and sitting there. And then also, she mentions that she hears moans and barks when he sleeps by himself. Look, I understand that the love of a mother is a wonderful thing. And it's twisted into such a painful way here, right? At that point, Your baby needs some help. Okay, your baby might not be a baby anymore. So at first, we got so much more to talk about here. At first, when I was looking into this, I was like, okay, Fae, right? Changelings. Replaced at birth, it grows, and it becomes a monster, right? And that's when they figure out that their babies were switched. I don't know that that's what this is. I do think her baby has been switched, or her baby was affected in the womb in some way. But we'll get into it. Okay, so she has a postpartum, not postpartum, I keep trying to do that, postpartum depression group that she goes to, and Celia is there. And Celia has seen this baby and either thought something about it or didn't, and just didn't say anything. But either way, Rupert acts so good when he's outside, but it's getting so hard to leave because she's getting so weak and everything's getting so dark as she lets the baby eat more and more and more of her. There's a really nice line in the transcript when you hear Rupert like moan out in hunger, and it just says, "It is not a baby." But yeah, no, this is a creature. This is a thing. And so she offers her all to Rupert. And so before we get into like the post-case stuff, let's talk about Rupert for a second. Because, man, okay. All right. So, I did some digging to try and figure out how this ties into alchemy. Because I was like, man, it feels weird to suddenly be bringing in changelings and the Fae. And specifically, one of the things there is baby demonic, right? And so, I got to digging into a place that I don't like to dig, which is the writings of Aleister Crowley, who was an alchemist, and into the Ars Goetia, and specifically into a specific demon that Crowley believed would allow him to transmute other minerals into gold in the form of Berith. And I don't know that this has anything to do with that, but we've been talking about transmutations, and this is a demon, and so that seemed important, and I've got it pulled up over here, and that seems like it might be worth mentioning. Just Berith, specifically the element with which all metals could be transmuted into gold. Also the Hebrew word for covenant, which is, the form of making a baby is a covenant. Look, there's a lot that could be dug into further there. I don't know that that's everything. There's also like some really interesting things here with the shadows and the dark that makes me think maybe I'm just overthinking all this and digging way too deep, and this is actually just the dark, and this is a manifestation of a thing that lives in the dark, a demon, right? But there's just like to take and twist the love that a mother has for her child and to turn it into, well, of course she's going to give everything she has for this baby. And it makes me go, what about Jack, Celia's kid, Celia's baby? Is Jack all right? Is Jack normal? Also, there's something, we'll get into Celia in a minute because there's something else there with Celia. But like to take this baby and at some point something was done to either alter or transmute this baby, or this demon baby was put into her because she doesn't remember a lot of the birth or anything like that. Was this demon baby planted? Is this not the dark and it's the flesh? Then you have the fact of, is this another way for the like new you stuff, but this is where maybe more of the monster ones come from? We have so many ways for people to get into this world at this point. We have the new you. We have the going through dimensions or falling through dimensions, right? We have the alternate self stuff, right? We have the future and the past. And we also have demon babies. There's people turning into stuff. There's people coming from other places. The demons are crawling out of hell. Look, this is not a good world to live in. And I don't know that you're safe anywhere, man. computers that are watching and always listening, and I feel bad for our cast here. And I definitely want to mention the voice acting. I haven't mentioned it in a while because it's just really good every episode. Voice acting really stood out to me this episode. Something about the way that Alexander J. Newell, read out all that stuff as Norris. Just it didn't feel like Alexander J. Newell anymore. It felt like that was Patricia telling me that story. And then specifically Lorianne Davies as Celia and Billy Hindle as Alice. Don't get me wrong, everybody did great this episode, but just I could feel like that apprehension from Alice and that inability to tell, and also like the desperation from Shahan Hamza as Sam. Like everybody did great. I normally don't talk about the voices anymore because of how I'm just used to them being great. Also, it was so nice to hear Basira again. It was so wonderful to hear Basira again. And we'll get into Basira in a minute. But one last thing on Rupert. If Rupert is supposed to be a tie to the Ars Goetia, then man, this goes down the alchemy rabbit hole even deeper than I thought. No, it's a lot to take in, and I think specifically this one hurt me because there's something like sacred about the love of a parent for their child in my mind. And like, I don't have any kids, may not ever have kids, right? But just the idea of you finally get to have that child that you've been wanting, and they're this. What do? Do you abandon them? Or do you love them anyway? And just to take that and twist it like this just hurt. It's a very well written episode. I really enjoyed it. Again, I could be completely off base with the Crowley stuff and tying that in. I could be way off base, but we'll see in future episodes. I think it's very interesting that they use demonic there, and there's a lot of demons tied in with alchemy. So we'll see. Finally, let's talk about Celia a little bit, because the fact that, like, before we get into Basira, the fact that Celia is a part of this group means she definitely had Jack here, right? She didn't have Jack before she swapped, or maybe she was pregnant before she swapped dimensions, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like she had Jack here. Is Jack one of these? Or is Jack okay? Is Jack just a normal, regular baby? Or is Jack a demon? And can anybody else even see it if he is? So let's get into Basira. We get, like, in case you needed more proof that Celia is our Celia from Magnus Archives, when they're talking to Basira, Sam is like, hey, did you work for the Magnus Archives? Because Sam's doing a really bad job of being a spy. He reminds me so much of John in that regard. And then Celia is like, yeah, did you work for the police force? And again, Celia's voice actress killed it with the like, no, my husband is probably just worried about this thing. That's very, very well done. But it's definitely our Celia. And this is definitely not our Basira, right? She's never worked for the police force. But she still feels like Basira, The way that she handles herself, the way that she gets terse, but she doesn't immediately throw a fit. She gets her dig back in there, but she doesn't immediately like flip tables or anything. It was nice. I've missed her so much more than I realized I had. And then we also have the moment where Alice tries to convince them not to go talk to Basira, not to dig any deeper, and Alice tells them about the externals. So the knowledge has spread to just about all of our main characters. I assume Colin already knows about it, right? And that leads us into Alice basically being like, hey, you can't, and Sam just not believing her, but Celia being like, of course. Because Celia knows so much more than she's letting on. And so it all wraps up in the end to Celia swears to have, or promises, not swears, to have Sam's back, right? They go. And when Sam is like, hey, why did you ask that question about the police? Oh, well, it's just something I must have read wrong in the report or something like that. And you hear the buzz of the lie. This is Arcelia. And you have Alice left at the OIR feeling like everything's falling apart. Very soon. This was episode 24. I know we still have a season to go. Very soon, somebody's going to get attacked again. All of the settings are there. There's a good chance that on the way back, Sam and Celia could get attacked. There's just, the pot is boiling over, you know? The pressure's about to burst, and we're about to either get an answer or we're about to get another attack, and somebody might even die. It feels like we're right at the cusp of something, and maybe that's why I did so much digging here, because I feel like there's something here that I'm missing, and I'm hoping I didn't just waste my time going into the Crowley route trying to find it there, but I feel like there's something else in here that I didn't notice that I'm missing. If you know what that is, please let me know in the comment section down below. I am loving this series. I continue to love this series, and I cannot wait for more episodes. I understand that there are still people in the comment section that are like, but it's not Archives. Well, no, it's not Archives. Just as good in my mind. And I can't wait to see how it all turns out. I am so curious about the routes that it's going to take. So, with all that said, I could just keep rambling about delusions and shadows and the dark and babies that eat the flesh of their parents, but, actually, spiders do that. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Trey. This has been the Full Spectrum. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum of the Magnus Protocol. Nice to offer.